Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today I have Leigh Hargrove, an author on my channel today. Welcome, Linda. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Queenie.
Thank you. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a North Carolina native, and I live in the Charlotte area now, but I'm originally from the coast, from nearby Manio. Everybody knows where that is. It's close to Virginia, the Virginia line. Got family in Virginia and North Carolina, some of everywhere. And I work at university in the engineering department. I am an engineer, but I also love to write. I started writing in 1997, and my first book came out in 2007. So, yeah, it's been quite an adventure writing. I've got, let's see, 10 different fiction, and I also design web pages on the side.
Also, you live in Charlotte, so you're not
Well, I'm close to Charlotte because
you're close. Okay.
I'm within 20 minutes. Because when we did the PLR in Charlotte,
yeah,
I drove from home. I didn't get a hotel room.
So. Oh wow! Are you coming? Well, next year.
I am.
Yes, yay! Okay.
Yeah, I love CBLR. It's great. It's great.
I know we're off subject. We're going off the road.
Okay, never mind.
But I never been, but I went this year. Well, we just went to the book fair, and I had a great time.
It's a great conference. I've been to a lot of different ones, but that one, it's got a special flair about it, and it makes authors so approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fangirling on because some of my favorites. So I was like, oh my goodness, I finally get to. So it's really great.
All right, what is your genre?
I do Christian romance. So like I mentioned before, I've got 10 titles. Most of my titles are novellas, so they're shorter than your typical novel. So, I don't know if you could see this in comparison to my first book. See how they're very, very different. I do prefer longer than, full length novel, but it just takes so much out of, because when I wrote the first two, I wasn't working full time. I was just at home with the kids, doing, web design business, which was working full time. It was almost like having two jobs.
Yes.
But working outside the home, that just takes a lot of my time away. So I figured if I'm going to keep writing, I can write shorter works. So I've done a couple of anthologies and some short stories and the novellas. I've got 2 series that I'm actually about to wrap up the last one, the Christmas series this year. And then I've got a series that's kind of based in the 70s, in kind of 1973 to 1976. So those are kind of, I'm torn with the idea of putting those in a box set, but yeah, I don't know. I'm still debating about that. But if I did, and I do it. What did I do with the proof for that one? In that series, History Lessons.
Okay.
And that's available as ebook on Amazon right now. I pulled the paper copy, and this is my author copy. I pulled the paperbacks and thinking that I would eventually put all 3 of them together. see how the market will kind of work out with that one, the marketing for that one. But no, that series is done. The Christmas series is almost done. And I think novellas work for me on on one level, but I really enjoy getting into a full story. It's the full length one, the full novels, the 3 that are on Amazon are in this series. And they're more Christian suspense, thriller.
Okay.
But they do have a little romance in them, kind of a romantic edge, but they're pretty much kind of suspense. People tell me, that's what they kind of fall in the suspense genre.
Okay. Have you ever thought about going into another genre?
I have, but it would be too far away from even thriller or romance. It would be sci-fi, and that one I'm not sure the market is there. Even though because I started with the idea for a series, sci-fi kind of fantasy with Black characters, way before Black Panther.
It's going up.
And when you think so?
Yes.
And
yes.
then when Black Panther came out, it sounded like, wow, maybe I should have done that. And I don't know if the wave of that is gone, but you think it's still there? Okay.
I'm on YouTube, and that's all I see is
really
fantasy African American.
That's good.
I'm like, wow.
Maybe I should do it. I'm sure you know Rhonda McKnight. I told her about some of my ideas, and she was like, "Go for it, girl." But you might want to do it under a pen name because your followers might be like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
I'm okay with her romance, and I'm okay with her thriller, but sci-fi, I don't know about that. But that going back to my high school days, that's because I used to kind of tinker around with different storylines as a high school student. Yeah, none of that is publishable, but that's the kind of stuff that I like to read. But it's like, there's no Black characters.
Yes.
Now that is kind of the thing. I don't know, maybe I'll dip my toe in it. But if I do, it'll probably be under a pen name.
Pen name.
Yeah.
How did you choose the genre that you're in right now?
I think it kind of chose me. I started writing Isaac, the making of Isaac. I started writing his story as a small kind of discussion guide / short story for because it's got a lot of kind of undertones of racism in it. And at the time I was helping lead church groups through discussions about racism, and we should be at the forefront of dealing with getting the Black churches and white churches and Hispanic churches and whatever, getting together and addressing these issues. But people were kind of a little standoffish, and I thought maybe if I did it in little stories, and then that little story grew into a book, and people were saying it should be published. So that's what it eventually became, a full-length novel that was published by Moody Publishers in 2007. And then they took the second. Well, they asked me, "Is there a second book?" And I'm like, "A second book?" Didn't think about that because it went into the second printing, and then it was like, I guess I need a second book, and that's how Lovin' C.C. Johnson came to be.
Okay.
And it kind of continues the story of that little town that I create. That's kind of ruled by a clan-like group. I don't call it a clan because I was trying not to get sued, but that's kind of the town that she is from. But he's been lying about it because nobody wants to be associated with this town that their only claim to fame is the birth of the clan, so to speak. But eventually she has to go back and deal with issues, her own ghosts, skeletons in the closet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that one is it has an interracial romance.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
even though it's got some thriller edge, it does have a romance in it as well.
Okay. What is the faith to write?
The Faith to Write kind of was birthed out of my desire to help writers, new writers, and aspiring writers, particularly in the faith genres, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
Christian fiction, Christian nonfiction, just to be able to produce something that is publishable, whether they're going to self-publish, go traditional publishing, because so many people were asking me, how'd you do it, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, this is how. And I forgot to turn off my notifications. Sorry. And as I was maybe taking my notes on how I did it, I actually thought maybe I should just launch a whole website.
Mm-hmm.
And do. I've done videos. My channel is slowly growing with that, but I've produced different resources that people can to guide their journey as they explore whether they want to write traditional or self-published. So.
Okay. Now let's talk about your books.
Okay.
Go ahead. You start telling
Well,
us about each one of your books.
well, I've told you about the first two of the Isaac Hunt series. I don't have a paperback copy of the third, but the third is Saving Tate Michaels, and they're all ebooks. So you can get them as individual books on Kindle. The last one kind of wraps up that series with Tate being the one who needs rescuing. He's a former FBI agent, and he gets into some hot water, and he thinks he can get out of it himself, but he needs his old friend Isaac to come help him. A little bit more about Isaac. I've gotten in trouble with this cover a couple times. The first time was in kind of a book show. Black woman came up to me and said, "You should be ashamed of yourself." I don't know if you can see it on this might be a little bit of a glare, but it's a fair-skinned man with a blue eye.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't read the back cover. I mean, he's a black man. It's just very fair. He could pass for white, but he chose not to. He wants to identify with his African-American heritage.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but she was hot. She was mad at me. She was like, "You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a black woman. Why don't you write with black characters? And why are you writing this book with a white man on the cover?" And she just kind of tossed the book down on the table and did not even let me explain, what the deal was. So, for those of you who see the cover, this is what actually the older cover. It's 11 years old, this cover is. And Moody actually returned my rights about a year ago and gave me the opportunity to redesign the cover and actually had someone re-edit it. It's a different editor than the first person and just kind of update it. Because, it's over 10 years old. I just wanted to update it a little and re-release it. So that's why it looks different than what you might see on, it's a different title, slightly different. It says Making Isaac Hunt instead of The Making of Isaac Hunt. So it's pretty much the same story though. Slightly edited in a different title. Of course, I've told you about this 1970 series. This one is about a young woman who wants to get out of that little town. She's tired of all of what it has meant to her, the father that has recently passed was, drunk, a womanizer, took all of her money. She wasn't going to go to school like she wanted to go and be a math teacher, all of that. Finally, she's gotten to a place where she can leave. But then, it's a romance. This handsome history teacher comes to town, and she's like, what is this? And he's staying across the street from her, but he has the ability to get to where she wants to go. Mm-hmm. So she has to, kind of relate to him day to day. The relationship develops, and the rest is history, so to speak. But he helps her see some things that have been all around her all along. Some of the history of that little town that actually empowers her. But she's realizing, I don't want to give too much away, but she's realizing there's more around her than she knew. She was trying to run away. Well, it was something there that she should have kind of drawn some strength from, and he helps her to do that. But that's Paula Lawrence. That's her story. She has 2 other half sisters. Okay. Her daddy was a Rolling Stone. he liked the ladies. But at first, those half sisters, they don't gel as well. There's a lot of kind of distrust there because of what their daddy did. And so they have to work through that, as well as just kind of work through issues of faith and family. They eventually gel, they do become a blended family. But yeah, so that's that series. And it's based on the actual community that I grew up in. So it's very much small town, rural North Carolina. I just wanted to elevate that, but in a storyline that would be interesting with a romance. So yeah, and then the Christmas series, I had fun writing this one. This one, Saras Secret, which is one that I sent you, came out in 2017. So it's a couple of years old. And it was, the idea came to me as I was watching football, of all things. So the main character, and I'm not a big football fan. I have 3 boys, and they all play football. My husband loves football, so I call myself a football widow. I'm there, and I'm just keeping company. I might know a little bit about football, but not much to be a fan. So my mind wanders, in other words, and I'm thinking, I wonder what would happen if I had an ex-NFL player who was this way and that way, and I wonder. So it just came to me, and it was Pat Simmons and Vanessa Riley, probably 2 others that either you've had on your show or you're about to have on your show, that I bumped into in CBLR 2017. So this is October 2017. And they're like, what you mean you haven't written a Christmas romance? It's like, I'm just starting out with romance. I'm telling you, Queenie, they did not let me go. They were like, you gotta put one out this year. Like, this is in October. What do you think put one out? So they put me up to it. I dusted off, because I do workshops on writing. And I had done a workshop on writing romance, even without having written a romance. Yeah, imagine that. So I dusted off my notes and looked back at some stuff and looking at videos. It's kind of like reading books. Can I do this? Okay, I'll try it. And the book came out after, writing and rewriting and all this. The book came out 2 days before Christmas. So I could say, hey, I wrote a Christmas romance. And lo and behold, people were still buying it in the March. And like, well, I guess it's all right. I mean, it's not everybody's cup of tea. One person said something about, really? Is that what you meant? But anyway, yeah, it wasn't her cup of tea. That's or his. I don't know if it's a woman or man. But it's a fun read.
Mm-hmm.
It does have some secrets, some spoilers, spoiler things that I don't want to spoil, in other words. So I'll just say that, it's got an ex-NFL player with some secret lives. Let's put it that way. A couple of things that he's trying to keep under wraps. But eventually he does reveal it, but almost at the jeopardy of the relationship that he's trying to build with the main character, Chelsea. And then you got Letters from Santa. That's an interracial romance. Her friend, Monica, young black chef, turns her head and she's like, wait a minute. Is this the right thing to do? I mean, this is a little different for me, but we seem to be clicking. So that's Letters from Santa. She's also dealing with some grief, and that's a kind of a recurring theme for me. I haven't lost my dad a few years ago, and it's when you lose a parent, it's not the same. Christmas is not the same. So in all three of these books is elements of how do you deal with grief at Christmas time. So the last one comes out this year, and for whatever reason, this one's kind of like I've gotten 22,000 words, which was the limit for the novella. I wanted to be about 23,000, but it's not gelling for me. It's the story of another one of Monica, another one of Chelsea's friends. She's Puerto Rican, and it's like a second chance at love for her, for the young man that kind of comes back to town. And she's mad at him. I don't know if she wants to reconcile, but things happen. Bless the Lord, and and they get back together. But for some reason, it's just not gelling for me. So it might be another late release for the wish list, but it is coming out this year. Thank the Lord. And now I've got all kinds of other story ideas, but I did want to, at least that will be my last one for 2019. Yeah.
Well, that one, the one you just showed,
yeah,
that's on I do a Christmas list.
Okay.
It's on my Christmas list to read.
Yay.
It's 30 days. Well, yeah, 31 days.
Yeah.
So that's on my list to read actually next. I'm trying to finish up one book, and then as soon as I finish that one up, I'll start on my list, and you're on my list.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And you say your day job, you are an engineer?
I'm an engineer. I've been at the university since 2011. I've done everything from teaching engineering, freshman engineering classes, to doing research in the lab, so a little bit of everything. And I do quite a bit of writing. It's technical writing as well as the marketing, so I put on my marketing hat. And some people are a little surprised. You're an engineer that can write? Yeah, that's a good skill to have. Be able to kind of do a lot of a little, a lot of different things. Yeah, that's kind of like my mind is wired. If I'm doing the same thing every day, all day, I get so distracted, and the quality is not there. It's like, wow. Then I got to go back and redo it the next day because I've gotten so bored with it. So need a little variety.
Yes, yes. What is your role in the writing community?
I think my role is a gatekeeper of sorts. I don't know. Maybe I wear the superhero cape in my mind, because I'm not like kind of an A-list author, but I've been in it long enough that I know the ropes, and I can show other people if they're going the wrong way, kind of, steer them a little in the right way. So I don't know. I think that's my role.
Okay. What inspires you to write?
I get inspiration from a lot of things. My mantra is write every day. Write something, even if it's just some notes, some outline for a story. Mm-hmm. Just being in that kind of habit of writing. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, inspiration comes through whether it's football or news stories or conversation with friends or listening in on people at the mall or whatever. When you're writing every day, you're kind of pushing something out, mm-hmm. even if it's junk, even if it never gets published. Hey, half the stuff I write never gets published.
Oh, wow.
But I'm writing every day. On my phone or on, I have a Bluetooth portable keyboard mm-hmm. that I can pair up with a small tablet, fits in my purse. I don't have to worry about, okay, can't take my laptop bag at, football practice or whatever. Yeah. But I can take my tablet and my keyboard, sit there and get a few words in. And and sometimes I've written parts of things, like the short stories that I submitted to some anthologies. And they've come from like 10, 12 years ago. And I've dusted off and it's like, I like that. I think I can mm-hmm. start with that and go some other. And yeah, that's how Dancing on the Moon came to be. That was a story that I submitted for an anthology with Tara Ora Moody. She writes cozies and some romantic suspense. Mm-hmm. And so when she approached me to kind of do that anthology, it was like, well, what could I do? Let me look through the Rolodex. Found that. And originally I was going to call it The Story of Love and War, which is way different than the title that it came to be. But yeah. No, that is actually one of the things that I give away on Amazon. It's my perma free. It will always be free. And it's a short story that is about teachers. It's a math teacher. And she kind of broken from a previous relationship, running from abusive situation with mm-hmm. her ex, and comes to a situation in Raleigh, North Carolina. Most of my books are based in North Carolina. I don't know if you noticed, but she's a new teacher, but her past threatens to follow her. The new principal, she's got an eye on, comes to her rescue. So it's got a very strong romantic thread, but it's very pro teacher. So.
And what's the name of it again?
Dancing on the Moon.
Dancing on the Moon. Okay. What has been the hardest thing about writing?
The hardest thing about writing, for me, has been just keeping the pace, keeping going. And you got all this other life happens, mm-hmm. I remember writing the quickest of my books that I've written. This one. It's a full-length novel. I wrote it in less than 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. Why was I trying to do that? I was sick as a dog just about every day for the last half of that. Mm-hmm. But I was on deadline. I had put it off. And they were like, yeah, we don't even have the rough draft yet. What's going on, Linda? And I pushed myself. And we were in the middle of moving from one city to the other, and small kids. And it's kind of like, what am I doing? I'm getting 3 and 4 hours of sleep a night. Yeah, but it happened, and I got it done. Mm-hmm. That was hard. And I actually put writing aside for many years after that, because it's like put all that work into it, and the book didn't sell very well. I mean, part of that, and I look back and I realize now, part of that was it was published in 2008, like in the midst of the recession, and that's why it didn't do well. But it was hard climbing back through all my feelings, all of my kind of, I call it personal inertia, just being able to pull myself back up and get back in the game. But nobody knew me anymore. Kind of like, who's she? She must be new. And I had been writing at that time. I had been writing for over 5 years, and like, I'm even trying to start again. But it was God that pushed me through all of that and helped me to see you're writing for me, not writing necessarily for the crowd. You're writing. I've given you an assignment. So until I take that assignment back, you're writing. So that's where I am. Still writing.
What made you want to become a writer?
I just tell stories all the time to myself. Even as a little girl, and jokingly I blame it on Amy Zion Church, because I was sitting in church, and I don't know if your listeners have these same experiences, but if you're a squirmy little kid in church, your mama would pinch you on the thighs. Yeah, I didn't want to be pinched. So I would sit there and I would make up these little stories, these little characters in my head. Like I'm in 3rd and 4th grade and I'm making up characters, and I kept that habit. And eventually in high school, I started writing those stories, actually before high school, because I remember writing stories in middle school with my friends. Many times I would draw characters. Some of them were science fiction back then, actually, tell the truth. We would kind of write parts together, and then I would draw the pictures and stuff. So, but eventually there were more stories with kind of young adult. I guess there would be more young adult by the time I was in high school. The stories I was writing, I would write longhand by hand, on tablets. And yeah, so I love storytelling. I love that. So I can't stop. Might as well publish some of them, right? Yeah.
When you was saying that, I was thinking my son Jamal, he's in the 3rd grade, 9 years old, and he does that. He draws and he writes stories. And one story he did, I think, in kindergarten.
Oh my goodness, there you go.
And the kindergarten teacher took it and had it binded, and they put it in the school library.
That is great.
And put a barcode on so kids can check it out.
Oh goodness, I love it.
Yes. And then this past summer, he wrote another book, and he was like, I gotta go get this binded. So my oldest son took him to Staples and got it binded. And now he lets his friends in class, he let his 2nd grade class read it, and now I think he just let his 3rd grade class. But he loves doing that. And then he got like they was doing cartoons or comics, and his little friend in his class would draw and he would write, and then they'll converse. And I was like, okay, all right. I was amazed. And I seen some of his drawings, and I was like, oh, you're taking after your uncle. Yeah. My brother can draw really good, and my son, he got like little books that he can trace the characters, and he'll go back and trace the characters. I'm like, you traced this on? He said, no, I did this myself. And I was like, wow.
Yep, I would do that.
Keep that.
I used to draw, things on the cereal box, but I wouldn't trace them. I'd be eating my cereal.
That's what he does.
Drawing as I would eat my cereal Saturday mornings, and draw in the family dictionary. Well, they used to have a dictionary. One dictionary in the house, I would be drawing in the margins. It's like, what you doing drawing in the dictionary? Well, at least I'm not drawing in the Bible.
Yep.
The dictionary. Yep. That, they had pictures in the dictionary. So that was my practice. And yeah, you got a good thing going with him. That is great that they're putting it in the school library. Oh my goodness.
Yes, yes, that was wow.
Yes.
All right. How do you feel about reviews?
I've grown a thick skin about reviews. It's taken me a while. I used to read them and be like mad for days or weeks. It wasn't like, what do you mean you didn't give me a 5-star? Put all that work into that. But then I realized, every book is not for everybody. Reviews are, but whatever I would approach, whether it's people like yourself or just any review, it's like, just give me an honest review. That helps me to know what worked and what didn't. Because, yeah, I might be thinking everybody wants to know about, small town life when they don't. So, and when I write descriptions, I try and make it as honest as possible, that I'm not making the book into something that is not. And I just make sure that people know what they're getting. Make sure that they can read a sample before they purchase. And also that they know kind of the backstory. Because I think sometimes that helps people know where the author is going with this, what they're trying to do with their writing brand. So, because I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. I know I've grown as a person and as a writer. Things that I wrote 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago might not be the same. It is not the same quality as I might write now. I think people who read a lot understand that writers do grow.
They do.
Yeah.
Is there any other author that has influenced you in any way growing up or as an adult?
As I grew in my writing, as I grow in my writing, I think it's definitely the people who are my peers now. And like I said jokingly earlier, I was fangirling at CBLR, the writers that some of them came after me. Writers like Vanessa Riley, Rhonda McKnight, that started or got published maybe a year or two or more after me, but they've been more consistent and more prolific in what they're putting out. And I admire them. And I treasure their encouragement and their advice, and their work is great. And so I guess there'll be more of my contemporaries, but I guess you're getting at people that are like maybe dead and gone, or I think anything that comes to mind. I as a kid, as a teen, I was very thick in my reading. I mean, I read anything from, the stuff that you were supposed to read in high school, 1984, Animal Farm, those
Oh, Lord. They
yeah,
still reading it.
they still, I don't know, wow, that's crazy. Still reading that in high school.
Yes.
But those things, even though they're really, in a sense, higher, almost archaic, I think they influence some of my writing, because mine, in some ways, I don't fit into the box when somebody says, oh, Black writer or Christian, African-American Christian fiction. Mine might come across as a little different. That's why, in looking at some of the reviews, you might see, like, this was different. I see that a lot. And I didn't know how to take that at first, but then I realized as I read more of works by other African-American authors, I realized it is different. And I think that's probably because of some of my reading tastes as a young writer in high school. And, you know, it's changed over the years, but The Good Earth is one of mine. So Pearl Buck. And oh goodness, Isaac Asimov, which is more sci-fi, I guess. Yeah, so I all over the place. Things that I would read and kind of you glean. You become what you read in a way. So that's why it's probably why my fiction comes across a little different sometimes.
Yeah, when you said that about I'm heavily into Christian fiction, and I'll take nonfiction. But an author sent me a book. It was a paranormal, sci-fi, fantasy, horror. It took me, oh gosh, it took me almost a little over a month before I had got myself back in the mind space where I was supposed to be. I was like,
wow.
Sorry, that book took me way out of my element, and I said I want to, step outside the box and go into other genres, but that was. And then he inboxed me now like, I got book 2, and I'm like, oh God, what do I tell him? So I was just like, it was a good book, but it just took me way out of my element, and I was like, oh my God, this is not. No, I got it. I did not read. I was in a slump.
Oh, wow.
Almost, I was right. Like 6 weeks, I was in a slump.
Wow.
Not picking up a book. I was like, I need to read. I couldn't even get into my Bible study. It was bad. I was like, oh God, I can't do this again. And I got book 2 out, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. Wow.
It was hard.
It's kind of like, because I will occasionally read non-Christian kind of fantasy and sci-fi, just to kind of broaden my my understanding of the genre. And that does it to me sometimes, because it's kind of like some people take their sci-fi and their fantasy a little too far, and lately I haven't been able to finish a book, a novel, sci-fi, and it might depend on some of the authors that I'm trying, that it goes a little too far off of where I want to be personally, what I want in my head. So yeah, I don't finish.
Yeah, it took me a while. Like I say, it took me a while to read it. But I usually don't take me but 2 weeks to read a book. This took me a month.
Goodness.
But like 230 pages, but I kept every chapter, I would put it down. I'm like, oh Lord. He would always constantly keep in touch with me, like, where are you at now? How you liking it? And I'm like, oh Jesus. I gotta tell the truth. It was a really good book, but it took me way out of my element. But
everything is not for everybody. And actually that helps me decide, if I do, and it might be a couple of years. It probably won't be next year, because I am thinking about approaching an additional publisher with some women's fiction. But if I do the sci-fi, it'll be under a pen name. I haven't figured out what name yet, but yeah. Because I don't want to throw people for a loop like that. My family will probably buy it, but then the people on my my mailing list or my Facebook fan page, they might be like, I can't go with you there. And I understand. It's not for everybody.
What is your testimony?
A testimony. I'm a country girl, and I love the Lord. I've been saved since I was a freshman in college. I went to college as kind of I won't say agnostic necessarily, but I mean, we went to church. We were just good churchgoers. And I was a good person, but I didn't realize how much I needed God. I needed to be rescued from myself. You know, I thought I had it all together, but I didn't. And I realized that through a series of relationships with people who were for real, yeah, for real following God, and I wasn't. And slowly opened my eyes, and then at Friday night Bible study, I gave my life to Christ, and that was in 1984. Wow, it's a long time when you really think about it. And that was the best decision that I've ever made. And so all through college, and then I actually met my husband in college. We got married in 91, so 1991. And what's that, 20, almost 20, well, this May will be 29 years. Wow. That we've been married. We have 3 boys. We are adopted. Three different adoptions. That's why in my first book, adoption plays pretty heavy. And let's see, what else can I tell you? I am very active in church now, of course, and also in my community. I volunteer with a lot of kind of creative things, like I love to sew, and I've, for the past 10 years, been active in a community theater. Helping behind the scenes, sewing. I mean, people know that. Well, the people that I sew for know that. There's different either Christmas things or Easter things, big productions that we do. I also volunteer with different STEM advocacy things of science, technology, engineering in the community. I'm part of a STEM council with the school system. Let's see, what else can I tell you? That's about it. Keeps me busy.
What projects are you working on right now?
I'm working on that last Christmas novella. And then next, I will be trying to get a traditional book contract with Harambe Press. It's a North Carolina-based book publisher, small book publisher, and they're trying to increase their people of color that they're publishing. So actually, I met the editor for the press at CBLR this year.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I was so nervous. It was like, I haven't been traditionally published in over almost a decade, and I don't know if I got, I don't know if I can get back in the game. Competing against all these younger people and all these, whether they're trying to do YA or, young adult kind of things. I didn't quite know what they wanted. And when I pitched my idea for women's fiction, she was like, yeah, I want to see that. It's like, you do? So I've got, she wanted to see, proposal. Got part of the proposal done, so I'm letting it sit for a bit, revisit it and polish it and submit it before the end of the year. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be announcing in a few months that I've got another book contract. So we'll see. So I don't want to, put anything else on my plate just yet. So we'll just take it easy and we'll go from there.
Okay. How can readers get in touch with you?
They can look on thefaithtowrite.com. That's all one string, no dashes or whatever. Thefaithtowrite.com. Or they can look me up on my Facebook, author Leigh Hargrove. my Facebook fan page, or find me on Twitter, and that's llhargrove.com, or Instagram, The Faith to Write on Instagram.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to add before we go?
No, I can't think of anything. We've touched on books and my faith, writing, and it's been great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yes. Can't wait to see how you like the book.
Yes.
How you readers like the Christmas series.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
And in today.
All
right. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.
Yeah.